Like and subscribe might be a simple click for you, but it will lead to a transformational change of our channel. Support us to achieve 5 million subscribers by year 2028. In the heart of the desert, 2 helicopters drop Danica and 3 other vampires near a temple. Once inside, they remove a brick from the ground to reveal a hidden passage and uncover ancient inscriptions on a wall that are 4,000 years old, indicating the cradle of civilization. Suddenly, a hole opens in the ground, and a hand reaches out to grab one of the vampires, pulling him down. The others immediately attempt to rescue him, only to discover his head is missing before his body ignites and turns to ash. At that moment, a ferocious creature crawls out of the hole. Meanwhile, in the big city, a warehouse explodes when it's attacked by Blade, a vampire hunter. Blade is a vampire hybrid himself, meaning he has superhuman abilities but can still walk in daylight and withstand silver. However, no one believes his story about vampires killing people, and the police are waiting for him to slip up so they can arrest him as a murderer. A few vampires try to escape from the warehouse, but Blade is incredibly fast and dodges their car before making it explode. He then engages in hand-to-hand combat with the other vampires, turning them to ash in seconds. His best friend Whistler arrives in a truck to bring Blade his car, which he uses to chase after 2 vampires escaping on vehicles. They exchange a few shots on the road, and Blade manages to run over one of the bikers before causing the other to crash through his window so he can beat him up and kill him. Suddenly, the first vampire comes back and jumps on the car, but Blade quickly kills him too. There are 2 vampires left in a car ahead of him, so Blade turns on the lights of his car to burn them. One dies, but the other manages to hide. Blade then rams their car with his, making it flip. When he gets out, he discovers the remaining vampire has been staked with silver yet hasn't turned to ash. The vampire reveals that he's just a human wearing fake fangs and that this was a trap. Blade is currently being recorded by Danica to prove he's killed an innocent civilian. As the cops approach, Blade flees. Later, Blade returns to his hideout, and Whistler gives him a gift, a special inhaler to make taking the serum that controls his thirst easier. Meanwhile, Danica sends the video to the FBI before going home, where she discovers that the creature they brought from the temple has already fed on 5 people. Danica goes to check on him and sees he's taken a more humanoid form, using the name Drake. He believes modern vampires are a shadow of their former power, but Danica wants him to lead the vampire community and kill Blade. At the train station, a group of young vampires hangs out when they see a woman with a baby waiting for the train alone. They immediately surround her and start beating her up, but when they take her baby, they discover it's a doll. Suddenly, one of the vampires turns to ash, and the woman reveals herself to be Abigail, a vampire hunter. With excellent martial skills and specialized weapons, including a hidden knife in her shoe, she kills the vampires one by one until only their ashes remain. Sometime later, Whistler leaves the hideout to buy a newspaper, which is already covering the Blade case. This allows the FBI to track him, and in the middle of the night, agents attack the hideout. After telling Blade to run, Whistler activates self-destruction on all his computers while opening fire on the agents, who manage to injure his leg. Blade also encounters agents on his way out and fights them hand-to-hand while Whistler is shot again. Finding himself cornered, he has no choice but to activate an explosive to destroy all their equipment, dying in the process. Blade jumps out of the building just before it blows up but is then surrounded by agents and must surrender. Later, at the police station, the FBI agents mock Blade for believing in vampires and accuse him of being a serial killer. They leave him in the hands of Dr. Vance, who proceeds with a mental examination. He treats Blade like a crazy person, asking silly questions like the name of the president to check Blade's grasp on reality. Vance declares Blade psychotic, and while the FBI and the cops argue over who should have custody of Blade, Vance injects him with tranquilizers. At that moment, Blade realizes Vance is a familiar, meaning he's pledged himself to a vampire leader. He confirms this by showing his tattoo, and it's revealed that the FBI agent also has it. It's all part of Danica's plan to get rid of Blade. At that moment, Danica and a few other vampires like Jarko arrive at the station, pretending to be the transfer team. Blade is too weak to defend himself, but suddenly the window is shattered, and one of the vampires is burned down. It's another vampire hunter called Hannibal, who immediately begins fighting the vampires and kills a few of them while Danica runs away. Jarko manages to push Hannibal against the wall, but the distraction allows Blade to use his inhaler and finally recover. He immediately kicks Jarko away, grabs his things, and joins Hannibal in the corridors, where they start fighting a bunch of cops with the help of Abigail, who turns out to be Whistler's daughter. Soon, they find themselves surrounded by both cops and vampires, so Blade escapes through the ceiling while Abigail uses a special bow to clear their way through the vampire group. The duo manages to make it outside and watch Blade jumping out the window, explaining he went back for his sword. Outside, there are also cops waiting for them, but suddenly Dex appears to pick them up. The trio escapes in a van, only to notice Jarko running after them, so Abigail shoots him with an arrow to make him fall. Moments later, Blade is taken to a new hideout and learns that Abigail formed her own vampire hunter team called the Night Stalkers, thanks to everything she learned from her dad. The other members are the weapons designer Hedges, blind scientist Sommerfield, and her young daughter Zoe. It was Sommerfield who designed Blade's new inhaler, and Whistler wanted Blade to work with them. Hannibal reveals he used to be a vampire and Danica's pet until Abigail rescued him and Sommerfield cured him, but Blade isn't interested because he sees them as amateurs and kids. The group shows Blade some ancient artifacts, revealing that the legend of Dracula is real and he has existed for 7,000 years. He has used various names over time, and now he is the figure Danica refers to as Drake. Dracula is the original vampire and is so powerful that daylight does not affect him. While the team discusses this, Drake ventures out during the day to understand modern society. He eventually reaches a goth store and is disgusted by all the foolish Dracula merchandise, including a vampire-themed adult toy. Offended, he throws one of the clerks out of the window and feeds on the other. Back with the team, Sommerfield reveals she's been working on a biological weapon called Daystar, a virus that specifically targets vampires. Unfortunately, the virus lethality is inconsistent, so they need better DNA. Dracula's blood is pure and unaffected by generations of mutation, so they'll need a sample of it. To reach Drake, Blade thinks they should go through the familiars first. Before they leave, Hedge gives them a bunch of cool new weapons, including a UV arc. The team starts visiting various familiars, identified by their tattoos. They beat them all up but find no useful information. After many pointless fights, the trio dangles a familiar off a bridge when the guy suddenly gets a call from Vance. Finally having a name, they let the familiar fall to his death and head to Vance's office, fighting more guards on every floor. Many more humans are knocked out until they find Vance, but before they can talk, Hannibal notices the real Vance is dead behind a desk. The Vance in front of them is Drake, who quickly changes forms, dodges Abigail's shot, and captures Hannibal. After stabbing Hannibal, Drake jumps out of the window, and Blade immediately follows him. They run through the city, breaking into a building, destroying several apartments, and eventually making it to the roof, where Blade discovers Drake has kidnapped a baby. Drake confirms he was brought back because the other vampires want to walk in the sun too. Then, he throws the baby, disappearing as Blade catches the child. Meanwhile, Abigail heals Hannibal's wound and encourages him not to give up, but when they return to the hideout, she is distraught over her father's loss. Sometime later, Sommerfield informs the team that she has located the vampire's laboratory at Biomedical Enterprises. She also downloaded their recent purchases, including bone marrow growth supplements and genetic sequencing enzymes. Blade and Abigail decide to investigate and reach a warehouse in the middle of nowhere. Suddenly, the FBI agent arrives with his vampire leader, so Blade immediately kills her and forces the agent to provide answers. The guy opens the building, revealing hundreds of humans in stasis, all wired up as continuous blood donors. This is the vampire's final solution. Instead of hunting blood like wild animals, they have created a blood farming facility. Enraged, Blade shoots the agent and forces the computer technician to shut down the facility, killing all the sleeping humans. A vampire seizes the opportunity to grab Abigail from behind, but she uses the UV arc to obliterate him. Meanwhile, Hannibal retrieves his gear and attempts to join the battle, only to encounter a pack of vampire dogs. He immediately flees, and at the last moment, leaps out, tricking the dogs into jumping out of the window. However, he accidentally falls back into his cell, where Jarko finds him and they engage in a hand-to-hand fight. At first, Hannibal appears to be at a disadvantage, but when Jarko is about to bite him, Hannibal places an explosive in his mouth and incinerates him. Afterward, Blade finds Drake, and they start a sword fight. Both are highly skilled warriors, and the battle continues without either managing to land a decisive blow. Some of the vampires want to shoot Blade to assist their master, but Abigail appears and eliminates them with her bow. Soon, Danica shows up with a gun, but Hannibal tackles her, initiating a fight. Suddenly, Blade kicks Drake through a window. After a long fall, both men drop their swords and begin a hand-to-hand brawl. Drake throws Blade to the ground with great force before transforming into his monstrous form. Blade tries to retaliate with kicks and punches, but Drake is too powerful and keeps tossing him aside. When Drake retrieves his sword and is ready to kill Blade, Abigail shoots the virus arrow, but Drake catches it and drops it. Abigail continues to distract Drake with regular arrows while Blade grabs the virus and finally injects Drake with it. Drake roars in agony as the virus merges with his blood and erupts from his body, killing every vampire in the building, including Danica. As the vampires turn to ash, Drake regains his human form and compliments Blade for fighting with honor before dying. Suddenly, dozens of FBI agents storm the building, only to find everything destroyed and no bodies except Blade's. Sometime later, the FBI's science division prepares to perform an autopsy on Blade, but he suddenly awakens. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification button so that you don't miss any of our video updates.